Hello, and welcome to our Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. You know my name by now. I am Karl, for those who don't know me. And we are here to talk about all things Arsenal, as we do, because who doesn't like to talk about Arsenal, especially when we're winning? When we're not winning, it's not so good, is it? But the people who are here to talk about Arsenal with me is the man, the myth. Some people call him a legend. Some people call him a monster. I'm a little bit in between. Daniel, hello.
Hello, Karl. You all right?
I am good. Remember, I'm the favourite who is always here, not like the other ginger one or the French one or the one who thinks he's French and wears weird clothes, or the one that pretends he's a key worker. He's the one that's really here.
It's a Karl and Danny at Wonderland. That's it. I put it in. This is why I had no show last week, people. That group of slackers. I put it in there today. I've got a free spot if anybody wants it. Fergus was going to join us, but he's had to pull out. And how many? 11 people in that group. Karl, how many replies did I get?
None. Fuck them.
None. We're shaming them.
I think we should name and shame them. We should name and shame them. I think we should name and shame Chris Carpenter. We should name and shame John. We should name and shame Ellis. All of them. Every single one of them.
Apart from the only ones who get a buy is maybe Josh because he's got a new job, and Femi's got a new job.
No, fuck him too. Fuck him too.
Oh, Richard's got a broken arm. Multiple broken arm.
How much do you need your arm to talk?
Yes.
Hey.
Oh, Danny's mum's. For everyone who's not watching on YouTube and listening to this on a podcast, Danny's mum is with him. She just made him some crumpets and some tea. And the way that he spoke to his mum, I am appalled and ashamed, Daniel. Absolutely ashamed. Anyway.
To who?
There'll be about 14 million people will see this.
Oh, no.
No? Okay. Right then, Karl.
Anyway, Danny, we have another guest with us, don't we?
We certainly do.
And his name is Suburban Chris. How you doing, Chris?
I'm all right. In Danny's defence, he did say that his mum has been stabbing the Marmite crumpets quite aggressively. So, maybe that's a little insight into why him and his mum are at loggerheads at the moment. She's ruined his crumpets.
No, you never take Danny's side. You always take Chris, you should know this. You always take the mother's side, always, because mums are always right. Mums are always right, no matter what. There must have been a reason why she stabbed the crumpets. Maybe to make them cook better, Danny.
I was saying goodbye to my mum. What did you say, Karl?
I said the reason why she stabbed the crumpets was to make them cook better.
Was it? I do like my crumpets really well done. Should I share with people the video of me meeting the legend that is Magic Mike?
Do it.
Are we going to get onto that later?
Okay, well, whenever you decide, Karl, you let me know. You give me the nod, and it will be done. I'll make it so, as Picard never said.
Well, since you've mentioned him, you can share the video of him now. Because I saw him on Monday with you, and it was lovely to see. Oh God, my camera's gone fuzzy again. It was lovely to for him to come over and visit you. How did that come about, Daniel?
Well, his missus is going to kick him out and she's taken all of his money. And so he's been living in a rented room at Highbury. Is your resolution thing changed again?
We're about to find out.
Because you're in a better lit room at the moment. While you're figuring that out, I shall share with you people the video of me, share screen and the window and the thing and then a share. Are you ready, people? This is me meeting Magic Mike.
Obviously, the people who are not watching this on YouTube and listening to this cannot see this, but I'll give you a little brief description. It is Magic Mike coming out of the train station and Daniel sitting in his chair and Magic Mike molesting Daniel. I'm not going to say he didn't like
me and Mike are both so fat that the ground starts to move there. That coat makes me look fatter than I actually am.
Yeah, that's what everyone says, Daniel.
And there you go. That was a momentous occasion in the world of Arsenal podcasting.
Anyway,
has that made anybody well up?
Isn't it nice though? It's nice when you actually get people that you know off of the internet, and suddenly you
don't say that when John around.
It's just really lovely. I did the same thing. So I met Chris and I met Mike at the pre-Villa game, and it was lovely. It's just nice to be meeting people that you talk to on the internet, you strike up a rapport with, and then you get to actually have a chat with them over a beer and stuff like that. Met Jason as well. Lovely chap is old Jason, and yeah, it was a good chat.
It is. Yes, I've actually I stole all of those pictures. What did I do with them? I think I called them podcast wankers. I've got to look at the. There we go. It's that the file is actually called podcast wankers. And where's the one with you? I think that is. No, you're not in that one. You're in the one before with. No, you're not. I haven't got that one.
Danny, I'm going to crack on while you do this, because people who are listening on their phones are going to be thinking, what the fuck is he going on about?
Well, they shouldn't be listening on their phones. They should get on the YouTube and go and have a look there, because there we go. Here's the picture, and that is Chris and Neil, who and our Chris. And considering Neil and our Chris are so short, what were they standing on, Chris?
They were actually standing on about a big step in the Tollington, and Neil looks like he's got his come to bed eyes on, doesn't he?
And there's our little pirate Chris, wearing the most amount of rings a man can wear on one hand. Almost looks like he's going to wait until it kicks off. Anyway, there you go, Karl. Just get on with the show.
Yeah, 6 minutes into it, everyone's probably thinking, what the fuck? Let's talk Arsenal, Danny. Let's talk about the League Cup first of all, which is really good that we've gone so far in it, because I think we're playing. Normally, we play the kids. You know, we play every kid that we've got. Previously, it was a competition that we wasn't really interested in, but I think this year, because we have no European football, we are trying to go as far in it as humanly possible, because one, it's still a trophy no matter what, even if it's the league. Well, it's only the League Cup when we win it, when Man City win it, it's a trophy that counts towards their amazing quadruple. For me, I think there is a real possibility of us going far, just because Man City are out now, so that's sort of everyone's almost favourite gone, which I think is brilliant. And there's still obviously Liverpool and Chelsea who are still in it, who scraped through the knockout, through a penalty shootout. But we have now Sunderland in the next round, which at home, which you got to be thinking is a favourable draw. Chris, when you saw that draw, was you happy with that draw, considering the teams that we could have got?
Do you know what? I was happy with the draw at first because I thought it was away from home, because I just saw it on my phone. It just said Sky Sports, Sunderland away. And my wife's got family up there. So it's basically an excuse for me to say, well, we should go up there and see your family, see your auntie and uncle. But as soon as I saw it was a home match, I thought, actually, do you know what? That's the next best thing, because let's be honest, with the teams that are in the draw, what we all know is that as soon as we get a Liverpool, maybe not a Liverpool, but as soon as we get a Tottenham, or we get a Chelsea, or we get if Man City went through, or West Ham, they're going to play stronger teams against us, because they have the same probably opinion of the League Cup, which is, this is a trophy that we could probably win if we took it a little bit more seriously. So Sunderland represents for me an opportunity to play a squad that could be rotated, be a better team, be a better squad than that Sunderland team that will go out regardless of whether it's their best team or a rotated team, and it's the best possible opportunity to get to the semi-final. And then you're talking about over 2 legs, and then you're into a final. So yeah, that was the second best probably thing, apart from a nice big away day out.
I mean, yeah, I have to agree. I mean, anytime you play a team from a lower division, clearly it's favourable for you, especially playing at home as well, because like you said, there are still big teams in there. You still got that Lapa up the road, and you still got Liverpool, and you still got Chelsea in it, who obviously, they are very strong teams who, the way I see it, you're going to have to play them at some point. At some time, you're going to have to play them. So, but the further and the longer you go into the competition, I think the more confidence you build up, because if we get into the semi-final, then you're thinking, it's only 2 more games until you get to the final, and that's always good. And especially, is it still, Danny? Can you tell me if it's still 2 legs for the semi-final?
Yes, it is.
Because I know
Yeah.
they change. Oh, it is. Okay, that's good. So, yeah, and especially with something like that, with his 2 legs, if you lose the first leg, you know there's a chance for the second leg. So it does build confidence, I think. But I just want to touch on the Leeds game. Danny, when you saw the team for the Leeds game, I mean, we always try to predict the teams. Was there any standout shocks for you in that game? I mean, the only one for me, I think, was playing Ben White, and I think he only played because I think Mari come down with some sort of virus. They said it wasn't COVID, but some sort of virus. I think if Mari was fit, he definitely would have played. But anyone else sort of shocks you from being in the starting lineup?
Yeah, you were right with Mari because he was meant to have played, but White was brilliant. We don't want to see him playing that game. The only one would have been Rowe because Smith Rowe, because it says Rowe here. So having Smith Rowe there because he's played the most number of minutes out of all of our players this season. Second is Saka, and I can't remember who third one is. It's another one of the young lads. But playing him there, I'd have thought someone else would have come in and had a chance maybe play. But then again, it was what positions are you going to take out? Martinelli could have played there, but then we would have had nobody on the left-hand side. So I kind of see why Arteta did it, because you'd have had to move a load of players around. Not surprised Pepe played. I think that this is going to be Pepe's future. He got the highest rating of the game for us, apart from Leno in goal. Don't know why I said in goal. In Leno, who got a 7.8 and Pepe got a 7.5. But I was looking at it as a bit of a conundrum trying to figure out, well, who's going to play where and why. So I think considering the situation of what players were more important for him to rest, then I think that lineup was all right. But I am surprised that Bellerin didn't get any time. Like, you could have played. Recently, we were playing 4-4-2. I think that was the only other possible way we could have done this, is had Martinelli left, Pepe right, and play Nketiah and Bellerin, go old school, big man, little man up front, and then rested Smith Rowe. But Leeds are a decent team, and Leeds went out there to try and either kick us to death or win the game, didn't they?
Yeah, it was. I think Leeds probably, like Chris said, have the mindset of most of the clubs probably in the competition now. It's just a chance of winning, it's a chance of a trophy, and they want to go as far as humanly possible. It's a quote unquote backdoor way into Europe as well. So for me, you have to look at it and to say every team in this competition now are kind of rubbing their hands of it. I mean, not the likes of probably Chelsea and Liverpool. You know, they know they're going to get into the Champions League by the league places. Are positioned a bit more precarious because we don't know if we're going to hit that top 4, obviously, but if it's a way of securing European football for next season and the trophy.
Do you know what?
Yeah, the conference is the
conference, a qualifier for the Europa Conference League. I mean,
it's still. But I understand what you're saying, but it's more than we got now, isn't it? It's more than we're playing right now. There's teams flying here, there, and everywhere.
But it doesn't matter, Karl, because we're finishing 4th this season.
I thought we finished.
It's on.
Okay.
It's on.
Yeah. Chris, did you watch much of the game? What did you think of the game?
I thought it was an interesting one. I thought Leeds started off with quite a strong team, actually. I thought Bielsa would do the classic rotate most of his players and essentially write off the game. But as you said, Karl, perhaps there's an element of him thinking, do you know what? If we beat Arsenal, we get ourselves into the quarterfinal and we go from there. I thought the setup was interesting. Danny, you made a really good point. I don't know why we didn't go 2 up top, because we've been playing that with in the last few games prior to that. So is it not an opportunity to say to those players, okay, you're the rotated players, but we can play the same style, the same formation, the same format, so that if anyone gets injured from the first team against Leicester at the weekend, you can just slot straight back in because you've been playing that position. So it gives them a bit of cadence. So I'm a bit surprised that he did that. I'm not a fan of playing Nketiah unless he's on the verge of signing a new deal, which I'm not really a big fan of anyway. I think his time's probably up. I don't understand why we don't just put our eggs in the Bellerin basket, because as far as I'm aware, you know, he can sign for new clubs in January. He's not signing a new deal for us. He can sign for jobs outside of the Premier League. Yeah, outside of the Premier League. But all we're doing is we're not adding any value to, you know, we're not adding any millions to the money that we're going to get for him. We're just adding more few grand onto his pay packet that he can command and his signing on fee when he leaves at the end of the season, because his agent will get the old PDF or YouTube video out of all of his goals that he's just scored in the season just gone by and say, well, that's why you want to pay my client X number of £1,000 a week extra than we were expecting, and this is the X number of million signing on fee we want. So to me, I would be putting my eggs in the either Martinelli basket or the Bellerin basket, and I think I would also have replicated the formation side. The only positive, I guess, from what you were saying, Dan, about Smith Rowe is that he's been a player that has been quite fragile over the years in terms of injury. You know, we talked just before we went live about how he missed a lot of football with Leipzig. He's missed a bit of football. He even missed a bit of football at the beginning of last season because he was injured at the beginning of last season. So I wonder if this was Arteta almost testing him and saying, do you know what? Play 3 games in a week. Let's see how you get on. And maybe he's come through it because he's now played. He played in the Villa game. He played in the Leeds game, and then he played in the Leicester game. So maybe it's just building up his strength and the fact that he can play more games. I don't know.
Carl, do you see any similarities between Smith Rowe and his evolution and the amount of times he gets kicked and not protected by referees and Wilshere? Because for me, I think there's a lot of similarities there. And Arteta played alongside Wilshere when he was getting kicked regularly all through games and fouled, and no one was doing it. We've seen lately, haven't we? Saka and Smith Rowe are the ones everybody targets and constantly getting booted. And it's going to take its toll sooner rather than later, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we're going to probably talk about, refereeing decisions later on in this podcast. But it's worrying because at the start of the season, they did mention that they're going to start to let more things go. That was the mantra and the mandate from the referees. But now it's just getting...
As everyone's found out.
Yeah.
Letting everything go.
And I think now it's getting to a point where, teams are... there was always this old school mentality of Arsenal don't like it, Ralph, so give them a kick. Leave your foot in. What Sam Allardyce used to do to us and Tony Pulis.
Yeah.
Just leave the foot in. They don't like it, Ralph. And it was this thing that went around, the old school English mentality managers will, give them a little kick. And I think that's slowly coming back now. And it's worrying because players get injuries. They get injuries very, very quickly, and it's you can't stop something. The problem is when you don't punish someone for kicking you, then it gives the impetus to do it again and again and again until they get punished. And the fact that people like Smith Rowe and Saka are very skillful players, and they know that if you can kick them and injure them, then that's Arsenal's sort of attacking threat gone. And teams are doing it, and it's worrying, and there's just no protection whatsoever. And there's going to be a time, and God forbid this actually ever happens, that another Aaron Ramsey situation happens. And then what happens then? Then it's everyone, they should have been protected, and they should have done this, and they should have done that. And it's like, well, where was this? Where was all this talk when it was happening to Arsenal? It's probably going to happen to like a Manchester United player, and then everyone's going to go up in arms. But it's just this old school mentality of Arsenal don't like it, Ralph. Let's just leave the boot in and see what happens. And God forbid any one of our players do really get injured badly.
Yeah. Can I just jump in on just one point? 7 a.m. kickoff said on his Twitter feed 3 days ago, he put a chart up, which I thought was quite interesting. It was from 2008 to basically this weekend, and he called it the total referee difference. So in other words, it was penalties and red cards, and it's penalties for, penalties against since 2008. And it was of the current Premier League 20 teams. I won't read out all of them, but top of the league. Have a guess at which team was top of the league for the most penalties that they've been given and the beneficial red cards.
I'd say Man United.
Man United.
On plus 23 penalties they've had is their differential, and plus 1 red card. Guess what team's bottom of the league by a country mile?
Is it going to be a certain team that plays in North London?
Yeah, a certain team that plays in North London. We're on -6 penalty goal difference and -9 red cards, which, you got it. That is shocking, isn't it?
That really is. Because I asked Danny on Monday, when was the last time that Arsenal played against 10 men? And I just found it myself.
FA Cup final.
Yeah, the FA Cup final in 2000 was that
19.
19?
Was it 19
That's-
we beat Chelsea or 17?
No, it was 17, wasn't it? It wasn't 19. It was 17.
Well,
Yeah, because
2019 we beat Chelsea, but that was behind the closed doors, and then
2-1.
2017 was when that was Wenger's last.
yeah, and that's
hurrah, wasn't it?
when Victor Moses got sent off.
That's it.
So Arsenal haven't had a red card for another team since all that time. That's just ridiculous. That is really
There is
shocking.
a chance that we're just misremembering something, though.
So
Karl.
but the thing is, I tried to find that all the results, and I went for it and I can't. To the top of my head, I can't think of a time when someone's been sent off.
Mateo Kovacevic got sent off in the 2020 final.
He did indeed. Yes.
I'm only looking at it on Wikipedia.
Kovacic.
I don't know.
Yeah,
That does
Kovacic
seem a
was
little
sent
bit
off,
more
and that was
realistic.
debatable. That was debatable.
Yeah, second yellow in the 73rd minute.
Yeah,
But even so, that's nearly
But
what,
even
year
so-
and a half ago.
And is that just right? It was take out the FA Cup then and say, I know I'm probably, trying to find things to find my favour, but but even in the league, which you play your bulk of your games, the FA Cup run is only 6 games. It's still just shocking to find that refereeing decisions that don't go our way, and it's pointless us moaning about refereeing decisions because we can't change it. The PGMOL is a very corrupt organisation. We know this. I'm surprised that someone hasn't.
Karl, when I say something like that, what do you always say?
Allegedly.
These are the views of Carl Smith, not a Bergkamp Wonderland. I haven't told him your real surname, Karl, just in case.
So allegedly, the PGMOL is a very corrupt organisation. But as I said on Monday, every single team in the league could probably say the same thing and say we don't get decisions for us and blah blah blah. And, there's probably a case for every single team to say that. But I can only look at it from an Arsenal point of view, and it's just ridiculous that we just don't get the quote unquote rub of the green. We don't get, things in our favour. I mean, like you said, Manchester United last season when who's the centre mid scored that
Fernandes.
18. Fernandes scored that. Was it some stupid like 10 or 12 penalties?
All
Just
free kicks and penalties. Stat
That is-
padding.
That is mad. Just for a team to get that many penalties, it's just shocking. But what can you do? We're not, like I said, there's no point moaning about it because we're not going to be able to change it. And we just got to play football. We just got to play football well enough so that the outcome of the football game is not determined by a refereeing decision. We've got to play well enough so that when we go out there, we're not relying on referees to do things in our favour or give the other team or give our team free kicks, penalties, X, Y, Z. We just got to play football, and that's all we can do. But it does, that list that you just showed, Danny, it does make for really, really worrying reading. And I do think it's worrying because at what point do you then look and think, is there an agenda against Arsenal? I don't think, and like I said, every single team can say, of course, there's an agenda against us, against Chelsea, against this, against that team, but I don't know. It is what it is. Anyway, let's talk about.
Hold on. The other quarterfinals in the League Cup: Spurs, West Ham. West Ham will win that. Brentford, Chelsea. Brentford have shot the load already, and Liverpool, Leicester. Liverpool going to win that. Now, I've been saying for ages, I like a good League Cup run, but I don't want us to get to the semi-finals, because if we get to the semi-finals, that means in January we are going to be playing on the 1st, Man City, and then on the 4th or the 5th, semi-final first leg, the 8th, FA Cup third round, the 11th or 12th, semi-final second leg, and on the 15th, away at Spurs in the Premier League. So, Chris, that's 5 games in 15 days with the possibility of definitely 4 of our players, Aubameyang, Partey, El Neni and Pepe will all definitely be at the African Cup of Nations, because their last group games are the 18th of January.
Yeah, I think one of the big things, it's a little bit worrying. What I would say, though, is that those 2 League Cup games, if we progress against Sunderland, you have to just expect that Mikel Arteta, he's been playing some first teamers in some of the games. Like, we went to West Brom. I was up there at West Brom and we absolutely battered them, but we played a really strong side. He cannot do that when we get to January. He's just going to have to go full rotation. If you're thinking about the team itself that played against Leeds, so from that team that would probably play in the Man City game and then the following FA Cup weekend, assuming that we don't get a very favourable draw in the FA Cup, we might end up playing like a Farnborough Town or something like that, in which case he really can rotate for that FA Cup game, and then he can decide based on which one's the home League Cup game, either side of those, what he goes for. But I would expect to see Bernd, Leno, Ainsley, Maitland-Niles, Rob Holding, Cedric Soares, Pablo Mari, probably Kolasinac, probably Nketiah, Martinelli. You're probably going to get the likes of who else? Nuno, Tavares, maybe, depending on what happens with Kieran Tierney. If Kieran Tierney's fit and he's not playing, then maybe he's got an opportunity to rotate there. So I'm less worried about us getting into the League Cup quarterfinal or League Cup semi-final, because I think that he will rotate. What I am very fearful of is missing the likes of Partey, particularly Partey more than Aubameyang, but those 2 players missing for Man City and Tottenham. That's a big blow. That's going to be a tough January. We've not been handed a very nice hand there, have we?
And we haven't got the advantage of them lot playing European football, because that's the European football break. So we'll all be on a level playing field at that time. And I would hope that I don't think any of those teams are going to get a shock, are they? Maybe Leicester, Liverpool, but Liverpool are at home and they are formidable at home. Karl, can you see any of those ties not going the expected way?
I mean, I would have said the Liverpool-Leicester, because Brighton showed that you can get at Liverpool, but Leicester have not been playing good football as of late, to be honest, and they're kind of on the decline at the moment. Those teams it depends what teams the respective managers put out. I can't see Chelsea losing to Brentford. It's a derby, West London derby, so they're definitely going to go all out to try and win.
Chelsea have got 2 strong first teams, though, haven't they? They're the only one there that have got 2. Man City can do it, Chelsea can do it, Man United could possibly do it. I don't think Liverpool have got 2 really strong first teams, have they? So everybody there's only really got one set of players.
I think you have to remember that they're going to be tied, and also when you get into latter stages, you seem to be forgetting that Liverpool are going to lose their best player in Salah, and they're also going to lose Mane as well. So, there's Liverpool lose quite a few players as well, like in their centre midfield. So it's not a given that any team, or especially Liverpool, just managed to get through and just are all okay. I think there's a lot of teams who are going to look at the African Cup of Nations who could come. It's definitely going to come at the wrong time for them. But a football's a squad game, and you have to be prepared to, I guess, play the game with not all your strong team all the time. So for me, we can moan about the players that are not going to be there. And rightly so, to be honest, because Arsenal are going to be decimated because we don't have the best or biggest squad. But other teams around us are going to be in exactly the same position as well. So we just got to kind of, I guess, roll with the punches.
True.
So yeah, that's what I think. Chris, I want to ask you about the Leicester game. So I'll be honest with you, I didn't think that we'd go up there and win, especially win so convincingly as we did. This was one of the games where I looked at and I thought this is kind of a bogey game for Arsenal, and it shouldn't have been, because we haven't been to Leicester and lost in, I want to say, 3 seasons. I know we lost. I think we lost one time when when Emre was in charge, and got battered quite badly, didn't we? But I wasn't confident with this game at all. What was your feeling at the beginning of the game or the build up towards the game?
Well, I wrote about it in the preview. My preview I did in the morning, and basically said I'd bite your hands off for a draw. 3 matches. You're right. We've gone 3 matches now. We've beaten them, as in this weekend. We beat them in the league towards the back end of last season, and we also beat them in the League Cup. And then the season before that, that was where Maitland-Niles got sent off, and and Maddison went down a little bit easy. But yeah, as I said, I would have bitten your hands off before the game for a draw. I thought to myself, if we can start quickly and Leicester are a little bit sleepy, then maybe that'll have a bit of benefit for us. But I didn't expect that kind of start. That was a proper statement win. And it's really good because for most of this season, since the international break, every game, there's always been caveats. Every one of us Arsenal fans have put caveats in. Yeah, but Norwich have got a poor team, so we should beat them. We made it a bit difficult for ourselves. Yeah, but beating Burnley away, they don't create too many chances and they go long ball. Yeah, but it's Tottenham, so it's a derby. It can go any other way. And yeah, we were poor against Palace and not great against Brighton. It felt like there was always caveats being put in. This was the first game where I haven't seen anybody put any caveats in place. And all of a sudden, people, like myself as well, are starting to think to ourselves, actually, this is big. And this is one of those things that I haven't done this for a while. So I was up, I didn't go to the game. I was up in Northumberland with the wife's family. And after the game, I was just walking around Auntie and Uncle's house. And I just walked into one of the spare rooms and basically just started fist pumping like the air. It was like 4 p.m. I'd had a couple of beers, just fist pumping the air. No one around going, come on. I've not done that in ages. Like it really felt like that's a big win. There's no more caveats. There's no more yeah buts. That was big. That was a statement thing, and I couldn't be happier with the way that we performed, and certain performances from certain players. Ramsdale, the blonde, you shall not pass. He was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, for me, that save. But Ramsdale was just brilliant throughout the whole game. I watched it at home, and I was just like, this is just ridiculous. But that free kick at the end, when just before half time, and you're thinking to yourself, please don't concede, and he manages to do that save, and rightly so. That Peter Schmeichel tweeted saying that it's one of the best saves he's ever seen, because it was a really, really big save, and to go in 2-0 up as well. When you go in 2-1, it gives the team impetus and think to themselves, oh yeah, we got a chance, we can get back into this. Their heads must have been thinking, what more can we do to try and get back into this game? Because everyone from Ramsdale to Aubameyang were just immense. I thought they were absolutely brilliant. I thought we played such a good team game. It was one of the games, and you're right, Chris, it's one of the games where you were always looking for caveats, but there was nothing there. We just played a very good game of football. And okay, we dropped off towards the end, I think, when Leicester were obviously looking for a goal, but we didn't falter. Back in the day, I think maybe 2 seasons ago, we probably would have conceded and may have gone on to concede a second. But you can see now there's such a different belief in this team, and I think the fact that we are able to play our quote unquote first team every single game without the interruption of European football, it's a big thing for us. I think Ramsdale, he gets he's confident because he's playing in front of a very good defender in Gabriel and a very good defender in White as well. So when you've got 2 good centre-backs in front of you, you know that your goalkeeper is confident, because to get past those 2, you have to be very, very good. And there was always a threat of Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy, for me, is still a good player. He's probably falling off now because he's getting older, and what he used to do, the pace is kind of losing him a little bit. But Leicester, in the second half, they attacked us, but at no point did I actually think, I'm worried here, they're actually going to score. No matter how much they huffed and puffed, we was okay. Danny, did you get up to watch the game? Did you see any of the game?
I finally managed to figure out by accident how to. I can't get the however I watch it. I can't tell you how I watch it. You know what I'm talking about. Couldn't get it to work on my Fire Stick, and so I thought I wouldn't bother getting up. And the night before, I was just going through my phone, and I realised there's a screen share button on my phone, whereas before it used to be an app. So I did that, worked perfectly. It went lovely. Woke up, had about 4 hours sleep, woke up, watched it, went back to sleep after. But then I downloaded the game from another specialist site and I watched it again. And one of the most impressive things for me was the build up to Smith Rowe's goal. he started it down. He was kind of tracking back at the left back position, and then he ran across to the middle, and then he ran across the full length of the pitch up to their half, and then it was still almost running when the rebound happened, or when he palmed it away, or whatever it was, I can't remember. And then he comes steaming in and scored. And I thought the last time we had a player that would track back and defend and then score goals regularly from midfield was Ramsey. But then when we had Ramsey, we only had Sanchez. And there was nobody else. Well, Ozil was there, but we didn't really have anybody else who could build up play and score goals. And now we've got whoever thought Aubameyang would come back and have a better season now than he's had in any of his previous seasons with Arsenal, goals after that number of games. And he just looks like he can be bothered, which is, I was one of the ones, I'll admit that being guilty of saying get him out. It looks like he's done. He's one of them players that gives his best for 2, 3, 4 seasons, and then you need to move him on. He's been reinvigorated. It's fantastic to see.
Do you also think, Chris, that the fact that we don't have the European football is giving our players a chance to have a proper rest in between games?
Yeah, I think it definitely has an impact. I think the ability, when Aubameyang's 32 years old, his recovery time isn't going to be as impacted because he's playing once a week. And I think that has an impact. I also think that the relationship that he has with Lacazette and the fact that Arteta is finally keeping them close together, almost like they're on strings together at times. Now, I was looking at their heat maps after the Leicester game, and they take up very, very similar positions centrally. What was interesting is that Aubameyang was actually on his heat map dropping a little bit deeper than Lacazette. And I thought that was interesting because in my head, I've always positioned Aubameyang as that like number 9, and Lacazette is the connector, almost false 9 that sits behind him. But yeah, Aubameyang was collecting the ball a lot deeper. But what both of them did, and I think this is where I'm going to go back to my Ramsdale loving, because I just thought he was fantastic in some of the work that he did. His distribution, quite often when he's playing those low sort of daisy cutter passes, it's going towards Lacazette and Aubameyang. What really surprised me is last season at times Aubameyang's touch, it was like it just didn't stick. But both Aubameyang and Lacazette, the amount of times where I watched them just pluck the ball out from their feet after Ramsdale has just howitzered the ball towards them, it was really, really impressive. And it makes a massive difference for the whole team dynamic, because instead of teams like Leicester going, right, well, let's just have 4 or 5 players that will just press you high, you've got a team that goes, okay, well, if you're going to do that, we'll just Edison you and go either through the middle or round the sides or whatever it is. So it means that we can chop and change. And I wonder if that's having an impact with Aubameyang and Lacazette, because both of them suddenly realise, actually, this keeper's going to ping balls to us and it'll be accurate. And I think that's helping their form, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree, and I definitely have to be a Ramsdale apologist, because when we first signed him, I was definitely one of the people who questioned the signing. I didn't think that this was the player that we needed. Like, if you had told me what goalkeeper we should have signed, I couldn't tell you. But you look at sort of all the stats that went around about Ramsdale, about he's been relegated so many times and how much goals he conceded when he played for Sheffield United when you're in the Premier League. That you do look at that and think to yourself, God, what kind of goalkeeper are we signing? But I don't like this phrase either, but Arteta told us to trust the process, and in Arteta we trust, I guess, at the moment, because he saw the vision. He saw in Ramsdale what probably you and I definitely couldn't see. But credit to him, and also to put him in the team straight away, to just bench Leno and just say, look, Leno. I mean, we all know Leno's going at the end of the season. There's no secret to that whatsoever. He's definitely off back to Germany more than likely. And I guess if we can get sort of 15, 20 mil for him, because that's all he's going to be worth, no one's going to pay any more for him than that, then, we'll be happy. But for him to come in and make such an impact as well, what you were saying, Chris, he has made a massive impact in this Arsenal team, because some of the saves that he's made, you always compare, don't you? You look at them and you think to yourself, Leno would have conceded that, or if Leno was in goal, we probably would have lost that game. I mean, it's a given, some of them, but credit to Arteta and also Ramsdale as well for coming in, proving the doubters wrong as well. He's come in and he's shut every single person up who ever doubted him. Like, I was not one of these people who abused him online or just said I think that was just absolutely ridiculous what people do. Arsenal fans are really idiots sometimes, but but credit to Ramsdale. He's come in, he's made that number one spot his own, and next season he will have that number one on his back when Leno leaves. And do you know what? Credit to you, Leno, because you have done well. Long may he's such a leader in the team. He's so young. What is he, 23? And you can see how vocal he is on the pitch as well. And I think that is also good as well. He's, I know Chris Carpenter hates this word, but he shows passion. Like, he really, really does. Like, he will, if a defender's done wrong, he will tell the defender what for. And I think his interaction with the fans as well is just brilliant. And when you see him interviewing after the games, you can just see that he's just almost in awe of being Arsenal's number one goalkeeper. He's just almost like he can't believe it. And I think he feels every week that he has to prove something. Every week he has to prove just how good he is and the faith that Mikel Arteta has put in him. I mean, Danny, when you heard that we were signing Ramsdale, what was your thoughts towards it?
I wasn't happy, not because of Ramsdale, but because it was players that you needed in what order. I wanted a creative midfielder, someone along the lines of Odegaard, and then I wanted a centre-back, and then if we needed a goalkeeper, get a goalkeeper, because we all know Leno is a really decent goalkeeper. And I tweeted at the time, if you think Leno, a goalkeeper, is our number one priority, then you're crazy, thinking that we wouldn't have the amount of money we did have to go and spend on transfers. And then we got White, and then we got... I think we got, was it White, then Ramsdale, and then Odegaard. But if it had been White, Odegaard, then Ramsdale, you wouldn't have heard me complaining, because you don't get player of the season for two different clubs that you got relegated with if you're not a really good player. And so then I thought, well, afterwards, yeah, because by waiting to get Odegaard last, Real Madrid wanted 70 million, 60 million, 50 million. We got him for what, 35, 32 million? So not only did we saved a fortune on Odegaard. So, if like I always say, if I knew anything about football, I wouldn't be saying talking to you two. I'd be managing Barnet to the Champions League final. But it's an odd one for you, Karl. It's very rare that when you have two first choice goalkeepers at the club. We've had it twice recently. In the 18-19 season, Czech was our first team goalkeeper, and we brought Leno in. And do you know how many games it was before Leno took over permanently as number one in the league?
Surprising, Danny.
Well, just like Leno did in this season, got smashed by Man City, got smashed by Chelsea, 2-0 and 3-2. And then it was half-time during the 2-0 win against Watford. So that was 6.5 games. It took Leno to become number one, and then he stayed number one, and then Czech retired at the end of the season. And it only took Ramsdale 3 games, including the loss to Chelsea and Man City again. So there are some similarities with it. But normally when you get a younger goalkeeper in, as we all know, because we've been watching football for years, they get they get the league run, and the League Cup run, and the FA Cup run, and then they get the odd FA Cup run. But it's strange that we've had back-to-back new goalkeepers that have come in and replaced their previous model so quickly. They're 6.5 games.
You don't spend 20 odd million on a goalkeeper for them to be the backup. We're not Chelsea. Like, we don't have that sort of money.
Well, their backup is what, 75 million, wasn't he?
Yeah, something like that. But we don't have the luxury of that. And I said at the time that Ramsdale will be the first choice some point this season, because you do not spend that sort of money if you think that he's not going to be the number one, because you would do it next season. Or what you do in place, you'd sign maybe a pre-agreement in January. But we wanted him in this season. We wanted to blood him in. And for me, that spoke a lot. So that's when I thought that, okay, he's definitely coming in to be the number one. And I don't think Leno has done anything wrong. I mean, barring the Brentford game, when you look at the second goal that we conceded, you think to yourself, could he have been a little bit stronger? Is he a little bit weak? Like, again, you start comparing, don't you? You look back and you think, would Ramsdale have been pushed like that and conceded a goal like that? You think to yourself, he wouldn't have, because he probably would have pushed it back, or his frame is that big, he wouldn't have been allowed to be pushed. So, I mean, Leno has done well for us. I mean, I think Leno is a good shot stopper. I think when his reactions are absolutely brilliant. He showed in the Leeds game. He hasn't played a game for ages, and he made some really good saves in the League Cup game against Leeds. And he's going to make someone a very good goalkeeper somewhere. He's more than that. He's going back to Germany, isn't it? Because I can't see him. He looks like someone who would have been homesick, and there's no reports of him actually being it. But it just shows that we need to constantly improve. Just because you are the number one doesn't mean you should be the number one. And I think the fact that Ramsdale's come in and just made that number one his own is just absolutely brilliant. For me, at least, anyway. I think you have to look at the squad as a whole, and it's good that no one gets too comfortable. I think that is a big thing. That no one should almost expect to always play every single game. And granted, there are people in our squad who think they should play every game, but you should always have good, healthy competition, and that's what makes players, for me, better.
True.
Yeah, 100%. Do you know what's interesting? Well, firstly, the most interesting thing I find about Ramsdale is that he's from Stoke. I didn't think that they bred actual human beings that could turn into footballers in Stoke.
Do you think he's so good because he's got 6 fingers?
That must be it. But for me, what I think was interesting is in the Leeds game, I watched Leno once, maybe twice, ping those type of low balls into one of the front men, and I'd never seen Leno do that before. I also saw Rob Holding drive the ball out of defence. I've never seen him do that before. So I just wonder if some of these players are taking it on board that they've lost their place, and they're like, okay, what do I have to do to get into the team? I'm going to have to do a little bit of what he's doing. So maybe this is actually improving Leno, and maybe the competition of someone like Leno can actually therefore improve Ramsdale as well. So that's a good thing. He's got to make the most of it this year, because as you said, Karl, I think Leno, well, we all think Leno will be gone. So, he's got to get a lot of that formative sort of establishing themselves as Arsenal number one. And then when we get to the summer next year, we need a proper number two, because as much as this Arthur Okonkwo, I think his name is highly rated, I'm not sure that he's going to be ready to step up into the reserve team goalkeeper slot as we have at the moment. And we all know Runnelson's nowhere near that.
We saw pre-season, didn't we? Especially the game against Hibs, that he definitely isn't ready.
No, definitely agreed. But I'm going to look forwards at the moment and then look towards the Watford game, which is on Sunday at 2:00. Chris, what kind of team do you think that you'll see in that game?
I think he's going to go exactly the same team as he did against Leicester. I think mainly because you don't change a winning formation. I think he's realised he's touched on something by having Aubameyang and Lacazette so close to each other. Watford are an interesting team, though, because they kind of, against Southampton, they lost 1-0 at home. They went 4-4-1-1. So a similar sort of setup to us, with João Pedro just behind King. So I'm wondering if Ranieri does the same thing again, or whether or not he flips it a little bit. If they match us up, then I'd fancy our chances, because Southampton went 4-4-2. I think they went with Ings and Armstrong up top, and they absolutely battered Watford. It really did. I think Hasenhüttl said afterwards, we should have been a few goals up by half time. They gave them a proper pasting. So if I'm Arteta, I'm picking the same team. So that's Ramsdale, back five, Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, White, Gabriel, Tavares. You're telling Tavares, get in behind on that left-hand side. Lokonga and Partey in the middle. You play Smith Rowe and Saka either side of Lacazette, and then Aubameyang up top, and tell them to do exactly the same thing. Start hard, start fast, see if you can get a goal, but don't do what we did against Palace, which is get a goal and sit back and hold them off. Watford don't. They're not the same team as Palace. They don't press as high as Palace. I think they're one of the lowest possession teams in the league, so they're going to give us the ball. They make more headed passes than any other team other than Burnley and Brentford. So what Watford are going to do is they're going to try and catch us on the counter. They're going to try and go high. They're going to try and, well, I don't really know what they're going to try and do, because they're not a possession team and they're not a pressing team. They've conceded 18 goals in 10 games. You know, they're conceding nearly 2 goals a game. So for us, if we can get those 2 goals early, start hard, start fast, my hope is that it can be a nice, easy afternoon. But it's Arsenal, and life is never easy as an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Danny, Chris touched on Tavares playing. If Kieran Tierney's fit, do you bring him straight back into the squad, or do you make Tavares keep his spot?
No, we have seen that we relied far too often in the Emery and the Arteta era. We have seen that we rely on one style of play, one player, and we burnt out Tierney. Everything down the left hand side. That's all we were having for him for game after game. And at first, it was working. That game in the snow, absolutely stunning. He wants to get that game framed and have permanently playing on his wall in his Scottish castle wherever he lives. But I thought Tavares or Tavares, I think is how you say it, because Tom keeps saying it, that I think that he showed so much more than Tierney. And who'd have thought we'd say, well, we've got someone who plays a more expansive game of football rather than Tierney. I love him. He's fantastic. But all Tierney does is he run down and then crosses to nobody regularly. Not always his fault. It's probably doing what he's been told to do. But when Tavares is doing that, there just seems to be an extra element to his game. A little bit more creativity, a little bit, maybe he's a little bit faster. His passing's a little bit better. I just feel at the moment, don't bring Tierney back too soon because he's given so much for the club for the last 2 years. Give him a bit of a rest, and we've got someone there who's more than capable. And when you're a young man like Tavares and you've got all that energy and all that passion to just keep going forward over and over and over, the commentators were saying, "Wow, what a player!" And him, along with him and Lokonga. Again, it's just weird that normally these young men will come in and they'll take 6 months before they're playing anywhere near the first team in the Premier League. But they're playing so soon already. Chris, looks like you want to say something there.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, just kind of backing out your point on, I'm not going to say Tavares. I'm going to say Tavares because I don't want to the name. You know what I think it is? Because he's more right-footed than Tierney, he comes inside a little bit more, doesn't he? And so I wonder if because he's confident to come inside a little bit more, that's probably why he doesn't go down the outside and just look for a cut ball back in. Because we don't really have the centre forward that's going to get on the end of those. You know, we haven't signed Dominic Calvert-Lewin yet. So, you know, getting those Tierney crosses in to somebody like Aubameyang is less relevant. But I just to back up your point, I think Tavares is probably, because he's more comfortable on his right foot, he's happy to come inside a little bit. And so therefore his weapons aren't just beat the man down the line.
We have that with Saka and Pepe as well, don't we? They're playing on the wrong foot, on the wrong wing, and it's working brilliantly for those. We saw against Leicester the number of times that Saka would just go on his other foot, and then as a defender, you're going to be going, well, this bloke's as quick as lightning. I don't know whether he's going to go on his natural foot or he's going to go on the foot according to what side he's playing on, and that causes people so much trouble, doesn't it, Karl? But it's just a magnificent. Would you, Karl? Would you bring Kieran Tierney, the Scottish bloke, back as soon as possible?
I think Chris touched on it when he said, don't disrupt a winning team.
Yeah.
So at the moment, we've got the momentum of the first team playing as it is, and we're winning, they're finding their feet. So for me, I wouldn't at the moment. I would, maybe Tierney needs a rest as well. Like maybe he just needs, he's very injury prone, we know this. And so maybe he just needs maybe 2 or 3 weeks out just to do nothing. I mean, he's going to be going away with Scotland, isn't he?
Which he plays centre back of a back three with him.
Yeah, so he's going to be going away with Scotland next week, and maybe just say, okay, you know what, we'll build you up. You can go away with Scotland fresh, not have many miles or many minutes in your legs, and then come back and get ready for the Liverpool. I think it is when we come back from international break. Oh joy! But yeah, so for me,
go on.
No, just saying for me, I wouldn't bring him straight back into the squad.
Would you bring him straight back in, Chris? Oh, it's Karl's question. I shouldn't really ask you that. Karl, ask Chris.
Yeah, what Danny said.
No, I wouldn't. I would be, I'd just echo what I've already said, which is you stick to the winning team. I'm not sure he's fully fit either. And we don't need him to be. We don't need him to be fully fit at the moment. We can just sort of rest him. We can rest that period. I mean, I'm like you, Karl. I'm looking at that Liverpool game, and although what I would say is, I was about to say I'm looking at it with trepidation, but 2 weeks ago I was looking at it with fear, Now I'm looking at it going, yeah, but what if we actually go there with this team and they've beaten Watford and they've beaten them comprehensively? Hopefully, fingers crossed. What happens if we got a team that's full of confidence? We've got a team that's built from the back forward. In other words, you've got the likes.
You need one of these, Karl. You need one of these, and you don't have to keep leaning forward.
For the benefit of people listening, there's a back scratcher that is in vision.
Because Karl's camera keeps crime watching him. It keeps blurring him out for legal purposes.
Racist. Why did I say crime watch, bastard? But yeah, I echo what definitely what Chris said.
So what do we think about a prediction? Because I always think Watford, I don't want to play Watford. But the last 3 times we played them at home was July last year, 3-2, Aubameyang, KT and Aubameyang. September 2018, 2-0, own goal and some bloke called Ozil, never heard of him. And then March 2018, 3-0, Mustafi, Alba and Mkhitaryan. Chris, what are you going to go for?
I think we'll win. I'm really hoping that I'm hoping this is not going to bite me on the arse, but I think we're going to keep a clean sheet as well. I've got a weird feeling it's going to be one of those 2-0ers. And I got a feeling that we might score early. And then it might just be a little bit of huff and puff to get the second. It feels to me like one of those games where we score early in the first 15 minutes, and then we all think, oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. We'll give them a battering today. A bit like what happened in the Palace game, but Palace came back. My hope is that Watford don't, and it'll be one of those second half, 60, 65 minutes you get the goal, and then you have a nice little sing-song as we see the end of the game out.
Good. Karl, did you know that Watford's last 5 Premier League away wins under 5 different managers? Sounds very Spursy, doesn't it?
That's quite shocking, to be honest. And
how about your prediction?
I think we're going to win. I'm not sure how much by, but I do think we definitely will win. I said the other day that every home game should be a win, bare minimum. Don't care who it is. I genuinely don't care who it is. Arsenal should win all their home games. Because I know that Mikel Arteta's home record is quite atrocious. It is really quite bad. But we've got to win the home games. I just think that, especially a team like Watford, a newly promoted team coming to the Emirates, and they're still trying to find their feet under their new manager. Yes, Ranieri came in and they tried to have a new manager bounce and they got spanked by Liverpool, and then obviously they beat Everton and then they lost to Southampton, didn't they? Did we lose to Southampton? Yeah, they lost to Southampton. So that's like two losses, 1 win. And I think coming to Arsenal, is Ranieri going to be thinking to himself, oh yeah, we can take it to Arsenal here. But no, they shouldn't. We should spank them. We technically should. I mean, they have got some good players as well, and especially players like Ismail Assar, who is how he's still at Watford. I don't know. I really don't understand. I thought a team would definitely have come in for him by now, but he's still there, and he's a player that definitely scares me. But apart from maybe 1 or 2 players in the Watford team, I don't think there's much to worry about. Famous last words, obviously. But
there's no Troy Deeney. That's the only one that ever worried me.
No, he took his cojones to Birmingham. But we should win. I'm going for 3-0. Like, I'm genuinely going for 3-0. I think we do have it about us. I think we definitely, we've had a 4 weeks rest. We've had time to build up our strength and our confidence on the training pitch. And I don't see any reason why we shouldn't win this game. The only reason why Arsenal don't win this game will be Arsenal. They're the only reason why we don't win this game. It's not a case of Watford beating us. It's a case of Arsenal just being Arsenal, like Chris said, going 1-0 up and thinking, the game's won, we're going to sit back, and then Watford growing into confidence into the game and then beating us. Or, it's just something that we can't do. We have to keep going for the throat. Every time we score, thinking it's still 0-0, we need to win this game again. We need to go score another one. It's 2-0, we need to score another one. But, football's a very weird sport, but
we'll see what happens.
It is, as they say. Where's your bell? You need to. Where's
Ding.
Mike's bell? Yeah.
I would say, Karl, that I think against Leicester we saw that we went 1-0 up and kept going and going and going, and we did it against Leeds and we did it against Villa. So I think hopefully that Arteta may have slightly evolved there, like a Spanish Pokemon, and he may now realise that you don't sit back on a 1-0 lead. I'm going to go 4-0. The Tinker Man will tinker, and we will smash them. Because I hate Watford. Watford are one of those clubs like Watford, West Brom, Fulham, Norwich, constantly up and down. It just annoys me. I wasn't going to fuck around with my lights then, but I'm not going to now. I want to quickly, if nobody has finished talking on that part, everyone keeps going on about the Africa. Have you both finished on the Leicester game?
Do you know what? I was just going to
Watford,
mention one more thing. One of the benefits that we've got for the whole week off is that Mikel Arteta will have been able to get the step ladders out and just peer over the hedges to see Watford and how they're lining up. So he's got no excuses from that perspective. Now, and I've just mentioned as well, we've got the third best home record in the league so far. I mean, granted, it's only 5 games, but we are behind Chelsea and Man City in terms of our home form. Played 5, won 3, drawn 1, lost 1, 9 goals scored, 6 against. So we are on 10 points along with City. And then you've got Liverpool on 9 points. You've got Tottenham on 9 points. You've got Everton on 9 points. So we're not doing too bad at home. And Watford's away form is an interesting one because Watford are pretty good away from home. They're about mid-table-ish. They've won 2, lost 3. They've got a +1 goal difference. They've scored 8 and conceded 7, although 5 of those were against Everton. So, yeah, interesting. AFCON.
Yes. Were you going to say something there, Karl? Looked like you were...
No, I was going to say, I said that on Monday about him peering over and looking at the training. It's so weird that the training grounds back onto each other. I think the drones will
I didn't know that.
Definitely.
I didn't get the relevance of it.
Oh, didn't you? Yeah, Arsenal's training ground and Watford's training ground back onto each other.
Oh dear.
So
it's not the same since we left London, Colney.
I'll take getting the drones out and
yeah.
I'm convinced when Danny Welbeck left us and joined Watford, it was because he didn't want to move house.
Yeah, no, he's at Brighton. That's a bit more of a drive. Right, African Cup of Nations. I hear everybody talking about it, and I never hear the information I want to hear. So, people, bookmark this bit. This is all the information you're ever going to need. I'm going to do it in 3.5 minutes. It's from the 9th of January to the 6th of February. It's 24 teams. Whether it's going to be cancelled, Tom says I don't know who's hosting. I'm thinking maybe Cameroon are hosting it. Tom says that if Cameroon don't host it, then South Africa will host it. They're not going to not have it. So Aubameyang plays for the Gabon, and they have 3 games, 10th of Jan, 14th of Jan, 18th of Jan. Partey for Ghana, 10th of Jan, 14th of Jan, 18th of Jan. El Neni, Egypt, 11th of Jan, 15th of Jan, and the 18th of Jan. And then Pepe, the Ivory Coast, the 12th, the 16th, and the 20th of January. One game to look out for is going to be on the 14th of January. It's going to be Ghana v Gabon, which is going to be Aubameyang versus Partey. I asked on Twitter, and somebody who watches it said, expect Aubameyang's Gabon to get knocked out in the groups, not make it past the group stages. Ghana maybe get out in the group stages, but Egypt and the Ivory Coast are the two that are some of the favourites, and they're probably going to get to the semi-finals. And so, really, hopefully, if they're going by what that person said, Aubameyang's last game is on the 18th of January. I don't know how much they're going to have to stay at home under lockdown, or how many tests you got to have. But he could be back for maybe the 20th, 21st of January, the same as Partey if they don't get knocked out much further. The next round is the round of 16 from the 23rd to the 26th of January. Then the quarterfinals are the 29th and 30th of January. The semi-finals is the 2nd and 3rd of February. And the third place playoff and the final are both on the 6th of February. So it looks like the important players for us, Partey and Aubameyang, we may get them back by if not the 20th of January, a couple of days to come home, then it's going to be the 26th of January. So most of January is going to be ruled out for those two. Anyone got a point about I want to make about that?
Yeah, I think it's a bit scary, isn't it? If some of these go deep into the competition, and it's a bit sad that we're basically, as football fans, looking at a competition like this and wishing them doom. But it's stupid that they play that competition then anyway. I don't know why they don't play it in the summer. I think they're moving it after this year to a summer schedule anyway. which again will be interesting, particularly with the heat and stuff like that. But I'm just hoping that they stay in one piece and they all get knocked out and can come home safely to us.
Hopefully,
and not contract malaria.
Hopefully, Aubameyang will get sent off in the first game, be banned for the next two, and then they're out. Or him and Partey have a fight in the second game, and they both get banned and sent home. Then we could have them back by the 15th of January. Karl?
A fake party.
I think, do you know what? Like Chris said, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they have it during the quote-unquote winter months. But the World Cup is in the winter months, so, football is absolutely crazy. It's a funny old sport, as Danny said, it will be interesting that if the World Cup, if Arsene Wenger does get his own way and has the World Cup every 2 years, how the African Cup of Nations go, because he'll obviously have to run concurrent to when they have the Euros if Arsene Wenger gets his own way. So, we'll see. But it is very silly that, you lose our players in the middle of the season to go away. I think it's just ridiculous.
It's not like it's where in most of their best players of the best teams are all playing on a European calendar anyway. It's not like they have to accommodate it for their domestic leagues, which they may well have done by not playing it now and not in the summer, like we play. The rest of the world play the big tournaments. But I think only when you get down to the lower echelons of the rankings of the African teams where you find the majority of their players will be playing in their home countries in Africa. I mean, look at Egypt. Their best two players, El Neni is the best, and that bloke at Liverpool, the Egyptian Walcott, they're both playing in the Premier League. And even back in the days when we had loads of wonderful African players, like we had Kanu and Lauren and
Toure.
Toure, and there's loads of them we used to have. Sad we don't have any Nigerian or Cameroonian ones anymore, because back in the day they were the best ones, the Super Eagles. So
I think that if you look at it, we're going to have a really torrid January. I think it's because if you look at the squad, you are looking at Granit Xhaka and Lokonga being the midfield too.
When's Xhaka due back?
I'm sure it's late December.
Oh,
so
that might be good.
And you think to yourself, if he has a setback, you're looking at Ainsley, Maitland-Niles, and Lokonga in centre midfield playing potentially against Manchester City. Nobody wants that. Nobody at all in the world wants to see that. So, it's worrying to see our squad be so depleted, especially losing Aubameyang as well. Like, nobody wants to lose Aubameyang either. Pepe, although he may be not first team, you still want him in the squad, and nobody wants to lose him at such a crucial time of the season. And I do worry for Arsenal a little bit just in that period of time, because if we do have a poor run of form, it's going to take a lot to get our confidence back. 100% it's going to take quite a lot. So, it's worrying, and I personally don't think we're going to bring anyone in on loan. Just because I just can't. I don't
see the Ceballos' links.
I saw that as well, and when I saw that, I thought, "Come on now, no way!"
We've never had that I know a player have 3 spells at Arsenal. We've had loads that have had 2 spells, like Lukic and Lehmann and Campbell and Keown and Ceballos has had 2. Odegaard's had 2. I don't want. If we're going to get a third, I'd rather get Henry on loan than get Ceballos back.
But how many times has he played for Real Madrid this season?
Probably none.
Like, I don't think he's played for Real Madrid this season. So why would we bring him back in? I can't see it. But we have options. I mean, if you wanted to play Odegaard in the middle of the park, you possibly could. So there are options there. And we were saying offline is that Jack Wilshere seems to be in loads and loads of training pictures, and they're making a point as well as putting him in the pictures as well, maybe for the fans, maybe not. So,
Ceballos has played 0.
No games at all. So we can't bring him over, no way. And like I said, I know that Jack Wilshere, nobody really wants to re-sign him, but if you give him a short-term 6-month deal and say, do you know what, Jack, you are going to here to cover for the African Cup of Nations and maybe the FA Cup games, depending how far we get and who we get. We are under no obligation to sign you, like maybe even a pay-by-play sort of
He probably paid for
scenario.
£1 a game.
And I can see that happening. I can just for cover as well. And you make it clear to him and you say, we are no way going to re-sign you. We're not going to give you a longer deal.
Don't give him a downer. Don't give him a game with one hand and slap him with the other. So
you say to him, we give you a 6-month contract to the end of the season, and you're literally just there to cover.
Don't make him sad by saying you've got no chance ever.
He's good. But as much as people may not want that to happen, it kind of makes just a little bit of sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Just for cover, not for anything else.
He knows the system. He knows the club. He knows the manager. He knows some of the players.
He's been training with them. He's been training with them for 6 months. So yeah, it does make sense. Chris, what do you think to that?
I can't see it, and I'm not sure how it would work, because we're talking about basically the pinnacle of elite football, and you're talking about a player that hasn't actually played in a competitive football match for, by the time we get to January, it'll be over a year. Like, he's been out of contract. Bournemouth didn't re-sign him. He's not been injured, so this isn't an injury thing. I'm just not sure that he has got the body and whether he can regain the type of player and a type of the style of player that he is. I can't see it. I mean, I love him to bits. I'd love to see a triumphant return and for him to get some game time, but you can't, like, Premier League football is just so far beyond the reaches of most people, and the margins that exist within Premier League football and elite football are such that I just can't see. But putting a sentiment aside, I think it's just really, I'm sorry to be a bit downer here, but I don't see it being something that's really feasible. Even saying to him, well, we'll give you a basic sort of salary and then a pay as you play, because that's how they tend to work. It's not like if you make an appearance, then you get all of your money. They tend to pay them something and then they top it up, don't they? But how's that going to work? He's not going to put him in ahead of Maitland-Niles. He's not going to put him in ahead of Lokonga. If Granit Xhaka's back, he's not going to put him in either. So he's then basically fourth, maybe fifth choice. He probably wouldn't play any football at all unless we get as I said early on, a Farnborough Town in the third round of the FA Cup. And even then, you're talking about just one game, and it's like, almost, can we cope without him? So again, I'd like to reiterate, love Jack Wilshere like every Arsenal fan. I love that he's been pictured with the club. I love that that the club offered him the opportunity to keep his fitness going and things like that. But I don't see a Sol Campbell or Jens Lehmann triumphant return, if I'm honest. And I apologise for making you both look very sad now.
Well, he's 30 on New Year's Day, and his last game was Brentford's 1-0 home loss Brentford. Bournemouth's 1-0 home win against Brentford in the Championship playoff. He played 9 minutes, and that was on the 17th of May.
This year?
Yeah, 17th of May in 2021, which I thought. But his last league game before that was on, like you were saying, the 5th of January.
So then, why have Bournemouth not offered him a new deal? And they're playing in the Championship. That's the other thing that makes me think, why did they not offer him?
I think it was the manager who brought him in, wanted him, and then they changed managers, and that's why he didn't play.
Right. Okay.
I think was it? I can't remember who it was. They've had a couple of managerial changes since it was Eddie Howe. But that is a bit weird that the gap between the game was the 5th of. Oh no, 1st of May in the league. Yeah, they put 5-1-21. No, so in the standard league season, it was the 1st of May, and then the playoffs, it was the 17th of May. Bloody hell, transfer market.
More than likely, he's probably injured in that time. I mean,
oh no, the one in the league, the last game of the season, of the standard season, the 1st of May, he played the full 90 minutes as they lost 1-0 to the mighty Wycombe, who I think got relegated.
Oh God, probably why. But looking at our midfield options, there are definitely other options there. I mean, like you were saying, Chris, Chris, about putting Jack up ahead of other people. You still got Charlie Patino like in the under 23s. He's absolutely tearing it up. And we always talk about stopping people's development, and would you think about even promoting him ahead of Jack Wilshere? But he obviously needs game. It just seems that every single time that we play a League Cup game, he's injured and he doesn't seem to get the opportunity in the first team. Because I think most fans are kind of itching to see how he is in the Arsenal squad.
Well, on the 2 days, yesterday we played Plymouth Argyle in the Football League Trophy, whatever it's called now. And I'm just looking at the lineups there. He didn't play. No, Charlie Patino didn't play. Drew 1-1 away,
injured.
And Balogun scored, and then we lost on penalties, so we're out. And sadly, yes, a bit weird that. But a young player we have got coming through is that the bloke from Plymouth, Beereth, is in England in the Youth International. But some of these players that we're playing in midfield, we're playing some weird formations, and none of these players jump out to me as we've got to start playing those. But I think, like you're saying with Wilshere's maybe a little bit past it. I think Patino's not ready for it yet, because there's been 2 or 3 chances this season where Arteta could have played him in the League Cup games and he hasn't. I'm sure that he knows better than us.
The thing is, as well, is that you're chucking him into the engine room of a football team, aren't you? Because he's not going to play in a number 10 role, because we've already got enough of those. He's going to play alongside a Lokonga or a Xhaka. And Xhaka and Wilshere, that doesn't scream pace, does it? It screams experience, but it doesn't scream pace. So you're taking another option away if you don't play Sambi. But then if you play Sambi and Wilshere, does Wilshere have the same distribution as Granit Xhaka? I mean, he's probably got the same mobility as Granit Xhaka, even if he's 30 and hasn't played for a year, and has probably been McDonald's every odd day. Because let's be honest, Granit Xhaka is not the most mobile of people, but Granit Xhaka has been playing at that top level, and I don't know.
Right. We're going to talk about Go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, mention Miguel Aziz up at Portsmouth, or down at Portsmouth, I should say. He's not getting hardly any game time at all. It's kind of worrying to think to yourself, you send a player out on loan and then not really playing. Are they really up to it? Is it a case of the manager doesn't like him? Should we think about recalling him and bringing him back home?
You got to wonder why they're not playing it, because maybe he's just too good for them or doesn't fit in with them, or you never know. When we have got such a terrible history of loaning players out and then them spending the entire season doing absolutely nothing.
I was just going to say, it's a Gnabry situation where the manager doesn't see how good he is and
doesn't think he's good. Yeah. But again, Portsmouth are, where are they in the league? They are 14th in League 1. They've won 5, drawn 5, lost 6, scored 19, conceded 21. So you wouldn't really think it'd be that hard for a Premier League player to slot in there somewhere. Has he played any actual games this season? No. Oh, he's played 76 minutes. I think he's started one and one sub. And whereas their player who's played the most has played 1,300 minutes.
Yeah, so that's worrying. And surely Mikel Arteta must be on the phone saying, what's going on, play him, or he's come home. You must have put him in the under 23s if you just sit him on your bench and do nothing with him. Oh, sorry, Danny, I interrupted you. You was gonna.
No, that's all right. I say we've been going an hour and 20 minutes now, so we're going to talk about the strikers, but we'll save that for another week. Should we talk about the Arsene Wenger documentary?
Yes, I mean, I watched it today. We obviously at Bergkamp Wonderland we get exclusive footage. We get invited to all the premieres, red carpet.
I did ask them why they sent it to us.
I did watch it, and I'm not going to ruin it for everyone because I want everyone to watch it. And it was better than his book. Put it that way. I think it gave more insight to what he was thinking than his book ever did. Because I thought his book was absolutely rubbish. I'll be very honest with you. But it's a really, really good documentary, and I sat there kind of in awe. It's one of the ones where you know what's going to happen. You know, we all lived it. It's like watching the '89 documentary. You know what's going to happen, but you watch it thinking, "Oh my god, it's so tense." And Arsene Wenger definitely gave insight into just some of the things that he did, or some of the things that he was feeling. And there was. I haven't shared it with you, Danny, and I'll talk to you afterwards. But there was one thing he said at the end when I was just like, wow.
What that Ferguson said.
That, and also something he said about his return to Arsenal.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh.
Both made me think. That's the Wenger's one made me feel very sad. And the Ferguson one made me think, well, that's bloody decent of you.
Yeah, I think, and what you were saying, it's so nice to see that during the rivalry, Sir Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger, it was, you know, they wanted to hit each other, and I think there was a true rivalry there, which is the reason why sort of my generation hates Manchester United, because when I was coming up, obviously you hate Tottenham, definitely, and Manchester United were the second team that you hated. Obviously, after that, you had Chelsea and probably Stoke because of the way they used to kick us. But for me, Manchester United are the team that I actually hate. But to see them two now really, really sort of speak so highly of each other, I think it's
like
really nice.
Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn hugging.
Yeah, like it's really nice to see, and I definitely would encourage everyone to go and see it or watch it however you can, because it really, like I said, everyone knows what's going to happen in it. Like, but just the things that they speak about, and the Invincible season for me, I remember I'd left college, and it was just before I started. To go work
ruining
for
people's journeys to work.
Yeah, just before I did. Just before I started London Underground, and I was contemplating going to university. And I remember that I was just that was when I was really, really in love with Arsenal.
Your camera's gone.
I was really, really in love with Arsenal, and for me, it was. I remember game by game, as the season went on, thinking, are we going to go unbeaten? You know, after Christmas, you know, think yourself, oh, we still haven't lost a game yet. And then we had that horrible, horrible April where we lost to Man United in the FA Cup, and then we lost to Chelsea in the Champions League. And that year, we 100% should have won the Champions League that year, because I think that's the year that Porto won it. And if we had beat Porto, Jose Mourinho would not be the person he is today. No way would he be that person.
Well, Chelsea wouldn't have given him the job, did he? And we saw that Chelsea did exactly the same thing with the other Portuguese bloke who won the Europa League or whatever it was. Only gave him a job, and both of them only got Spurs jobs because they had the Chelsea job.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, you know, that season we really should have won the Champions League, because I reckon we would have beat Monaco in the semi-finals where Chelsea lost to them, and obviously Porto. My camera is having an absolute barney today, but
is it a standalone camera? Is it part of your shitty Apple Mac?
It's the standard. Maybe I should use the Apple one.
While you're fiddling with that, a bit of information about it. It's called Arsene Wenger, Invincible. It is available in cinemas from the 11th of November. Blu-ray, DVD and digital download from the 22nd of November. A little bit of information here. It says Arsene Wenger, Invincible, the definitive portrait of one of the greatest football managers of all time, comes to cinemas from November the 11th. I read that bit. Available on pre-order from Amazon. It's well worth it. Courtesy of Noah Media Group, the creators of some of the most acclaimed feature-length sports documentaries in recent years. Finding Jack Charlton, that made me very sad. Bobby Robson, More Than a Manager, that made me very sad. The Edge, I don't know. Steve McQueen, Le Mans, The Man and Le Mans, I didn't watch because I don't like Le Mans. Karl said, that's not good. I'm reading their blurb bit and I'm scratching my nose because my moustache is tickling me. Comes the very first documentary about Wenger told in his own words. Now, like Karl said, it was you see Arsene Wenger's book, which was pointless, And I watched this, and there was footage I've never seen before. Wenger is walking around the village that he grew up in. He's going to the family home. He's going to the family pub, cafe, restaurant place, talking to family members, talking about his early days as a player, and then going over to his time at Monaco, little bits from there. Then Nagoya Grand Passé, and then when he came to, there was stuff in there I had no idea about, like when he had to do a press conference because they thought that he'd been sacked or resigned after a certain amount of time. I'm not going to give any of it away, but the video of it is fantastic. The way he's talking is fantastic, and they do this one part where they have a massive big projection of the games, and it'll be a screen that is 5 meters by 3 meters, like a 4:3 ratio, so that'd be 4 meters by 3. And then you have that is in the one end of the studio, a blackened out studio. Arsene Wenger is sitting on a bar stool about 2 meters in front of it. Well, it's 2 meters in front of him. And then the camera's right at the very back of the studio, and you see Wenger in portrait as you see Bergkamp going to taking his penalty. All the real key moments in Arsene Wenger's career, they have him doing that. And he gets up from the chair and he walks around, he crouches down. And at one point, well, I won't tell you what happens. At one point, you go, oh, he's not happy about that. And then the clips, they've got Arsene Wenger obviously talking. You've got Ferguson, Petit, Vieira, Henry, Wright. Bergkamp is talking, which is something you very rarely see. And there was the only bit I didn't like is there had a couple of bits where DT was talking from AFTV, just showing what a scumbag he is. Luckily, there was no video of that. But it's an hour and a half long. I thought it's 11:30. I watched half hour of it and then I'm going to go to bed. I watched the entire thing, didn't realise I didn't know how long it was. And I watched the entire thing, and then it was 1 o'clock, and I thought, have I got time to watch this again? And I never watch stuff again. This is on the same level as the Amy Lawrence 89, where you watch it and the video in, the interviews, everything is perfect. And I might even watch it again tonight. I don't know how long our preview lasts for, and I'm going to share it with Chris. I forgot to give it to Chris before we knew Chris was coming on the show a few days ago, and I should have given it to you, Chris. So, you got any questions about it that we don't want to give too much away? But
no, I mean, I'm similar story to Karl when it comes to that Invincible era. I just remember I was at university in 2001 to 2004. I was in the Northwest. So, that hotbed of football, Man United fans, Liverpool fans. I remember a Liverpool fan come up to me and saying, he's sort of wagging his finger and saying, you need to embrace this now because your football team won't be this good forever. And my response was, nah, Arsene Wenger's the greatest manager ever. And just walked off. And that was it. And at the naive age of 21, when you're just watching it was my third and final year at uni as we were doing the Invincible year. Just every game was, how much are we going to win by today? We didn't win all of them. Of course, we drew 10 games, but, we knew that team was just something else.
It was.
Archie's. Sorry, Dan, go on.
Go on. No, I was going to say. I was going to say. Go to their website, which is arsenewengerfilm.com. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It's all at Wenger Film. But go and get it, people. You will not be disappointed. And they're giving us absolutely nothing for this because, ABW take nothing from anybody. We promote stuff just because it's nice. And we've always done that. And if anyone's ever got anything, then just if they want to give something away, they do, or they let us watch the video early. And that's more than enough. So we're not getting paid to say any of this. Karl?
I was going to say, I won't put you on the spot now, but both you and Chris, what was your favourite moment from that 03-04 season? I mean, for me, there was loads. There obviously springs to mind as actually winning at the dirty White Hart Lane. That was obviously, you can't get any better than winning the league title at your ground. But for me, though that was absolutely brilliant, the best thing about that season was after we had that torrid April, when we did it was an absolutely horrible April.
And I was going regularly. I went to most of those games and the FA Cup games. I was away at Villa Park, so I was there for most of that stuff.
And I remember us losing to Man United and us losing to Chelsea in the Champions League. But for me, the moment of that season was us beating Liverpool at home 4-2. We were 2-1 down at half time. The unbeaten result was on the line. It was on the line. We was losing to Liverpool at home 2-1. And that second half, we absolutely blitzed them. I don't know what happened in that dressing room. at half time, but we
Well, they
absolutely
kind of
mauled
Henri
them.
talks about that, doesn't he, in the documentary? And he kind of says, and Wenger says what they did. I mean, you have to watch it to get it, but you think, wow, after what happened at halftime, it must have been electric, because you went out there. I was at that game, and I went out there, and I think we were 2-1 down, like you said, and then we come back to win it 4-2, and then we go undefeated in the league for the rest of the season. Well, we were undefeated anyway, but it was looking rocky a couple of times. Like we'd had a draw against, was it Bolton? And the commentator says Arsenal, Bolton were unlucky not to take all 3 points from that game earlier in the season.
Yeah, we definitely had opportunities where we could have thrown it, but I don't know if you had a chance to think about it. So I go to you, Chris. What was your moment of that season?
I think it's quite early on in the season, actually. So we played Liverpool away, actually. I think Bobby Perez scored a really good goal. And we followed that up by beating Chelsea. And it meant a lot, because that was when Chelsea had just been given their money. And so it was like all of a sudden they were injecting a lot of cash into that club, that horrible, horrible oil whoring club. And to me, those two results against those two teams, that was big, because that was us making our stamp and saying, do you know what? We are the best team in this league, and we're going to prove it to you by doing it back to back. And so that was around about October time, I think it was. But that, to me, early on, set the stall out for the belief of the season, and it just sort of went from there. And there were, like I said, there were a lot of draws in games. I remember, was it Fulham? Just looking. We draw at home to Fulham. I feel like we did, yeah. 0-0. We got a 0-0 draw against Fulham in November, and we absolutely battered them. I've never seen their goalkeeper make as many saves as Van der Sar that day. But that early on in the season, picking up those types of wins, that was massive.
I'd say my one was the 47th minute of the last game of the season. Paul Dekov, ex-Arsenal youth player, someone we all liked, who helped save Man City. If he wasn't for Paul Dekov, Man City wouldn't be where they are now. He scored the goal in the League 2 playoff, or the third tier playoff, to get Man City promoted to the Championship back in the days when they had no money. He scored in the first half. Arsenal 1-0 down. Second half, I'm thinking, this is the last game of the season. The amount of pressure. We're a half away from being invincible. We're 1-0 down already. 47th minute, Henri gets a penalty. As soon as he puts that penalty in, you think, that's it, it's all over. We've done that. We're invincible. And then we end up going and winning the game 2-1. I've got it open here. I can't remember who scored the other goal. It was Vieira. There you go. So Vieira scored the final goal of the invincible season, and he scored the goal a year later that won us the FA Cup. And then he shit on us and went off to play for Inter Milan. Yeah, one thing that did annoy me is, apart from the DT bit speaking, was the players going, "Oh, I love Wenger, I love Arsenal." No, it's like having your favourite girlfriend and she shit on you to go and date some bloke called Luigi who's loaded and really bronzed with lovely long hair and body like an Adonis, and then coming back a few years later and going, "Oh, I really love you the most." Vieira, Henri, Petit, Overmars, Anelka, dead to me. But I've
never agreed with Danny on this, because Anelka, yes, Anelka was all about the money. He wanted to go to Real Madrid because obviously his brother was in his ear saying, you can go and get millions and millions like playing for Real Madrid, and I think Anelka would have been something different at Arsenal. I genuinely do. But saying
I forgot he was 17 when he
I know, it's exactly. Goals. So, but we may never got Henri if Anelka had stayed. So, as we keep saying, it's a funny old game. I don't know. That's ding ding. But
I can't go. It's like your wife leaves you for someone really good looking and then comes back years later and says, "Oh, but I love you the most." No, you lot. Barcelona don't give a shit about Henri. Inter Milan and Juventus don't give a shit about Vieira. Barcelona definitely don't give a fuck about Overmars and Petit. They won nothing while they were there. And all these other players. Van Persie, I don't care because he was a snake. I don't care that he left us. He was only good for 5
minutes. But you have to understand that these are players who are playing for money. Of course they do. You can still love a club. Like, I still love my job at Sainsbury's, my first job. It was one of the best jobs I ever had. I still left them. Do you know what I mean? So that means
No, but
nothing.
do you go back into your local Sainsbury's and go and tell them how much you love them all and it was the greatest time of your life while you were there, like these muppets do?
Well, clearly not. But if there was a documentary about Sainsbury's and someone
you
asked me
shop
about my
at M&S
time
now,
about
I can
Sainsbury's, then I do shop at M&S. It's very, very good.
Yeah.
But clearly, if someone's making a documentary about teenagers working in Sainsbury's, I'm going to say to them, "Oh, it was the best job I ever had," because it was one of the best jobs I ever had. I don't go back and say it all the time, but you have to understand that, you know, you can have an affiliation with the club. I mean, the way that Henry left, I mean, we don't know what happened behind closed doors, but that's when Arsenal had no money. We was paying for our stadium. We had literally no money.
That's
and
another thing,
I
Karl,
think
I didn't realise until Wenger said it. The stadium was quoted at 200 million, ended up costing us 420 million. He said that broke us.
Yeah, of course it did.
Didn't know
That's why I'm happy that Spurs are probably going to go bankrupt soon.
Billion.
I can't wait. But you know, you have to understand that he wanted the club to match his ambition. We just did not have the money at the time to buy players.
Yeah,
So
but we
he
had the
was like,
players who could have stayed with us and done it. That's the bit that gets me. If they'd stayed, we wouldn't need new players because you fuckers are still here. There you go.
yeah, but you're forgetting these players are aging. What did Vieira leave us at? 31, 32?
He was 29.
Was he 29?
I think so, 29, 30.
But he was wanting to leave Arsenal a long, long time ago, and he was going to go to Real Madrid this season before, but obviously they didn't pay him as much, and he was like, okay, I'll stay. And then Juventus came in for him. You know, everything has got to end at some point. At some point, everything has got to come to an end. And, you know, there are some players who leave under a cloud, like obviously Van
Bergkamp didn't
Persie.
leave, and he was better than all of them. That's why we love Bergkamp. How many of those other fuckers have got a podcast named after him? None. Point made.
So I asked a question on our feed. If you was to run up, I'll ask you this, Chris. I'm going to put you on the spot. So, happy birthday, by the way, Mr. Ian Wright, because it's his birthday today. I was going to give him a shout out.
An actual true legend who did not want to leave Arsenal.
I will mention him. But if you had to rank Henry, Bergkamp, Van Persie, and Ian Wright in order of best players, how would you rank them? I'm going to ask you that question as well, Danny.
That's hard. Okay, so I'm going to actually make Danny turn over in his non-grave here because Thierry Henry has been my favourite player of all time, hands down. His goals, his assists, everything about him I just loved. So he goes actually above Bergkamp for me. And then Bergkamp is inevitably second. It's close because the man was a genius. Van Persie gets rock bottom, and Ian Wright is next. So it's Henry, Bergkamp, Wrighty, and then Van Persie.
Daniel?
Bergkamp, because he stayed. He was a better player than all of those, could do more, and he stayed. And that's what a true legend does. Ian Wright next, because he cried when he left. He didn't want to leave. Wenger did the dirty on him. Then Henry, and then Van Persie. I'm not even going to talk about that prick. He can go fuck himself. I'm not going to give him the dignity of having in my top four. No, it's a top three only, Karl. How about yours?
Can I just say, on the Ian Wright one,
yeah.
So I can't remember who it was, whether it's David Dean or I read something where they were talking about his transfer to West Ham because Wenger, and I think it might even be in Wenger's autobiography, I don't think he wanted Wright to go, but what he said was, you're not going to play, you know, you need to be my auxiliary striker. And Wrighty was just like, no, I need to play. And so that's why he went to West Ham. I don't think Wenger actually wanted him to leave, but he wasn't prepared to give him the minutes on the pitch. And that ultimately is what sealed the deal. So I don't know if that makes you love Wrighty more or anything like that.
I can't love him anymore. Do you know, I've spent ages working this out. The next season, we were magnificent in the 98-99 season. We went so close as the video, as the documentary says. And I worked out we needed 7 goals all season that would have made us win those competitions. So we could have done the triple. And Ian Wright could have come off the bench. And as a sub, Ian Wright could have easily, or played 10, started 10, come on as sub as another 10. Ian Wright would have got you those 7 goals that season. We didn't have anybody as good as Ian Wright to bring off the bench. And if he'd have stayed, we'd have done another double or a triple that season. Because Alex Ferguson says that if it wasn't for that FA Cup final, semi-final with that Giggs goal, was it that one, Karl?
Yep.
The Giggs goal in '99.
Yep.
He said if it wasn't for that, we would have that wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have won the treble, but we would have gone on. But Ian Wright should have stayed. I think Ian has said recently that, or in the past, that looking back at it, he should have stayed. So, but no, there's nothing Ian Wright can do to not make me love him.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing. I mean, you think back now,
it is.
How much would an Ian Wright be worth in this day and age, in this market?
More than 250 grand that West Ham paid.
He'd be worth, at Ian Wright's prime, he'd just be worth so much money. Like, because I think he was so underrated. I mean, the fact that I looked it up a while ago, but he only played for England 33 times, which you think to yourself, someone of his caliber. I mean, at that time, England had an abundance of really good strikers, like really, really good strikers.
Well, that was the Shearer era, wasn't it? When Shearer went, 12, 13 games without scoring? Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, you think of, England just had some, they had Shearer, Sheringham, they had Andy Cole, Ferdinand, Robbie Fowler. I mean, at that Stan Collymore. So at that time, England had so many good strikers, and Michael Owen, the emergence of Michael Owen coming through as well. So, it's ridiculous that, that Ian Wright didn't get more caps than he did, because he really was. I mean, didn't he score the goal to get them into the '98 World Cup against Italy? I'm sure he did. That comes to my memory, but yeah, and I just think he's so underrated. I think that Ian Wright, for me, Ian Wright is the reason why I support Arsenal. Always has been. Me and Ian Wright went to the same school, grew up in the same area. I love Ian Wright, but I like you, Danny, think that he should have stayed, but
he was 34.5, and he went to West Ham for $500,000.
He didn't want to be anyone's backup, and I totally understand. I mean, you did have Anelka and Bergkamp, who were going to be the first two, 100%, hands down. But we also had Christopher Ray at that time, didn't we? So you may be looking at him thinking, would he have been fourth choice goalkeeper? Hear me, fourth choice striker. So you never know, but yeah, happy birthday, Ian. One of Arsenal's definitely best players of all time. He definitely gets into the top 5 of best Arsenal players ever, 100%. I mean, you don't become Arsenal's record goal scorer without being very, very good, and obviously being overtaken by, like Chris said, arguably the best player to ever play for the club. So definitely go there.
We need to say thanks to Jack for sorting out that video, and yeah, go and watch it at Wenger. What does it say? I've forgotten already. At Wenger Film. Yeah, that's on all those social medias. Chris, we're doing gentleman's nods now. Have you got one?
Gentleman's nods.
Other people call it a shout out, but we're a little bit too old for that.
Danny's just a knob.
I'm going to give a shout out to my mate, Captain Stubble, which is Mark King, and SJ Neighbour, Steve Neighbour, 2 lads I go to the football with, who hopefully I'll be seeing this weekend, although I think they've both said on our WhatsApp group not coming. So thanks, lads.
I didn't know that was Mark's account.
It sure is. Yep.
Oh, I used to follow him for years.
Yeah.
I bet he follows me now, and I just didn't realise it.
CAPT, Capt Stubble, I think it is. Captain Karl at Stubble. Give him a follow.
I'm having a look. Oh, click on it, you tit. No, he doesn't follow me. He's dead to me. Probably get banned again soon anyway. And tell people about your daily blog that you write, Chris.
Yes, all right. Daily ramblings, first thing in the morning. I write whatever comes into my head, which is usually nonsense, but it's always about Arsenal and what I'm feeling and thinking. So today I actually wrote about I'm starting to actually think about what if Arsenal could beat Liverpool? What if Arsenal could go on an unbeaten run? What if Arsenal were basically Conte's Chelsea when they weren't in Europe? I'm having those irrational thoughts at the moment. So that was what I wrote about today. It's suburbangooners.com.
Good. Karl, have you got one before we do a couple of listeners' questions? Done these the wrong way
I
around.
don't, so I'm just going to go to Ian Wright. So I'm just going to shout out Ian Wright. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Mr. Ian Wright. The reason why I support Arsenal, club legend, absolutely brilliant player for Arsenal. And I hope that you have had the most fantastic day ever and keep doing what you're doing, because I love seeing you on Match of the Day and all the other programs that you do.
Well, there you go. Lovely. I'm seeing who I can say hello to. Maybe the person. There you go. The Swedish Freddie. He's at Fredrik FredrikDanell. The Swedish Freddie. Lovely bloke. We have been following each other on Twitter for many, many years, and on the Instagrammings, and just a nice bloke. He was a little bit cheeky. So that's right. I forgot to do the questions, Karl. We have got only got a few. Start with you, Chris, from Matt L. Roberts. Has anybody seen the goal of the month options? Because I haven't.
I haven't seen the goal of the month options, but I do recall the goals.
So Matt says from the goal of the month competition, which is your favourite and which one is your least favourite? So I don't answer because I've not seen either.
My most favourite would probably be the Emile Smith-Rowe goal to make it 3-0 against Aston Villa, because I just loved the way that we just transitioned from back to forward so quickly. And, Smith-Rowe picks the ball up and wins the ball on the edge of his box, plays it to Aubameyang, little flick over, great touch from Aubameyang, nods it down and he's through. And he gets a little bit of fortune, which is always good to see Emi Martinez sad. So,
do you know he used to play for Arsenal?
I had heard, I can't remember, it's so long ago. So it's not like he mentions it or anything like that. The least favourite, that's a difficult one because that's like the least best. I would probably say the Gabriel one this weekend. And the reason why I picture that one out is because VAR has done me so many times that I only half celebrated it because I was expecting there to be some kind of there's been a nudge by a defender, so you can't celebrate until
his grandmother was offside.
2 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Even though it's a corner, there'll be some sort of nudge or something like that. So that would be the least favourite, but that's only because I immediately looked to VAR to screw us over.
Jolly good. Matt asks me, did I have to explain to my guest what a kettle was? No, but I did. We ate pizza together. It was lovely, and he knows I don't like people. I don't like drunk people, so we only had one glass of wine, and it's me, him, Sean, and Sean's mum. We all went to Huntington Place, Doe and Co. I think it might have been called, and the bill came to about 85 quid. And I got my card. I said, I'm paying. I got my card out. Went to give it to the woman, and he leant round the back of me and gave her his card round the back and said, I'm paying. I said, fair enough. I'm not going to argue. I don't ever argue when someone offers to pay because it means I don't have to. So, yes. Right. Karl, a question from Maurice Moss, straight from the IT crowd. Says, what will it take to change the positive sentiment on Arteta on this unbeaten run?
Sadly,
very little.
Jealous. It won't at all, I think. See, we probably touch on the next podcast, but like everyone, I don't think anyone's expecting us to beat Liverpool. I know Chris said, what if? And what if we do? But I don't think anyone's expecting us to beat Liverpool. But I think it'll be the manner in what we lose. I think if we lose, I don't want to be negative, but if we do lose to Liverpool, I think it'll be the manner that we lose in. If we get spanked 6-0, then that'll be it, won't it? It'll all be doom and gloom once again. I'm saying this it's guaranteed we're gonna beat Watford, but even a loss to Watford, not a positive result against Watford, and then you've got 2 weeks of stewing over it because it's international break, so that's not going to be good. But I listen, you can only play what's in front of you, and I think Mikel Arteta at the moment he's doing a good job. He's not under criticism. Sorry, he's not beyond criticism. Is he long-term the man for the job? No. I will die on this hill. Mikel Arteta is not long-term the person for the job. And I do think there are better options out there. I think it's going to be interesting with Conte going to that lot up the road. I really do. I think he have to. Conte is a very good manager, but Spurs are still Spurs, and he's still got the same Spurs players. And whether he can get that Spurs team working, whether Harry Kane decides he's going to turn up for games, it remains to be seen. But I think you have to look at what's going on around you. We're fifth, well, joint fourth if you look at it. So for me, I'm cautiously optimistic around the good times remaining at Arsenal. I think that we have the team to do well, but it's not just us, it's the other team around us. We have to, unfortunately, we're going to have to rely on other teams around us to take points from the teams on top of us to see how well we can build up in that table.
I agree completely. Right, Chris, from the normal Gooner, are you excited for now and the future of the team with the new spine through the team, Ramsdale, White, Lokonga, etc.?
I think, as we said earlier, we're all very excited about how awesome Aaron Ramsdale is and everything that he provides. I think Ben White and Gabriel are fantastic players. I think Saliba coming in next season as well, by the looks of it, is going to be good. So we've got a fantastic spine. I think we need to build on it, though. I feel like we need that one more midfielder. We get that one more elite midfielder, and then next summer we get in a great striker. I'll be very excited, yeah.
One thing I'd like to see is whether Tavares can play at right back, because when we signed him, it said that he can play either side. If he can play right back as well, because like you were saying earlier, he can play on his right at left back. If he's as good at right back as he is at left back, then we don't need a right back, a backup right back. Yeah. But we can't expect Tommy to do absolutely everything for the next 3 seasons at right back, because other than him and maybe Maitland-Niles, who his future I don't think is going to be at right back, he's going to be in central midfield. Then that's the only thing I think we need to look out for.
Yeah, can I just say, Tavares sounds like a Christian Dior eau de parfum, doesn't it?
Well, as Mike says, because Tom said Tavares and then Mike calls 2 Vages, which makes it something you're never ever going to forget when you see him running. So sorry about that. Right, Karl, Normal Gooner, has added another bit. Also, rightly, Ramsdale has been grabbing headlines recently, but how good have Gabriel's performances been since returning from the Olympics? To add, are we as fans getting a bit carried away?
That's what Arsenal fans do.
That's
what we do.
Exactly.
That's exactly what we do. Why not? When a player's playing well, you build them up like they're the best in the world. And obviously, when they're playing so well, you give them stick. It's part and parcel, unfortunately, of being a footballer. It's exactly what we do. I honestly think that he's in his moment at the moment. He's in his moment. He's got a partner who he's comfortable with. Not playing with Mustafi obviously gives you bags of confidence, because playing with Mustafi would make you shit the bed, wouldn't it? And he's also playing in front of a goalkeeper who's giving him confidence. So that's also very, very good. I think that this partnership is going to be very good. And like Chris said, Arteta's going to have a good problem next season when we do get players back, because he's going to have the option of who does he play, and do go to a back 3. Do we still play 2? Does Saliba sit on the bench? Does White sit on the bench? Does Gabriel sit on the bench? I think it's a very good problem to have, but whether it's Mikel Arteta or whoever's going to be there at the end of the season, they're the ones who have to decide. But, they're just like at the moment, Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe is playing absolutely brilliantly. And by all means, we are hyping him up. We're calling him, some people are calling him, the best the best young player in the league. Rightly so. But, I think we need to be cautious, and he's going to have some bad games. He's going to go through a run where he doesn't play well, where he's not scoring. And we can't then shit on him and then say, oh, we shouldn't be playing him, this, that, and the other. you know, he's still going to be a good player. So at the moment, like Odegaard, I've seen people talk about how Odegaard needs to come in and perform and play well. He's just going for a moment. Give him his chance, and Martin Odegaard will be the Martin Odegaard that we know.
Exactly.
And you just got to have patience with people. That's what it is.
And the normal Gooner has added to this, I think it's his own point of view. The performances have definitely been better, but the opposition hasn't been top caliber. I will say that Big Mick has had generally good results against top Premier League teams in his tenure, which is something he has over Wenger, because Wenger used to get his arse spanked by the big team, the best teams, and then often lose to the worst teams and do all right against the teams in the middle, whereas Big Mick, as he calls him, has a past of beating the big teams, which is important. Anything else we need to cover before we...
But you can only play who's in front of you. You know, if we play Chelsea, we beat them, cool. If we play Norwich and beat them, cool. We can only, you know what I mean? You can't, there's no Super League yet, but we can only play who they put in front of us. And, you know, if it's only those teams that we beat, then so be it. But for me, and as always, a win is a win, no matter who you play. If we win, great. If we lose, not so great.
And we should say thank you to Tottenham LOL Spurs for the constant entertainment and the chuckle they give us, and tweeting their new Italian manager in Spanish. That's always a classy move. And then deleting it, the absolute tools. Right, anything else we need to cover?
Can I ask one question really quickly? I just want to, I know, but quickly, Chris, what do you think Tottenham are going to be with Conte? Do you think they're going to do well under him?
I do. I think it's going to be a challenge, actually, because he's probably going to sack off, if they're still in that budget European competition, he's probably just going to keep rotating and play the Mickey Mouse players, because he's going to want to demonstrate his credentials against Tottenham, against other Premier League teams. I think he's going to quickly adapt them, quickly change them. He'll get them playing with an intensity which just didn't exist under Nuno or Mourinho towards the end. I think they'll be a better team. Whether or not they're a Champions League team, I don't know, because their backline is really terrible and their midfield is a bit meh. If you're honest with the technical ability of that midfield is very average, if you ask me. But they've got game changers if Harry Kane can be bothered to show up. Son is just a brilliant player. It hates me to say all of this. Son is a brilliant player, but if Conte sets them up in the 3-5-2 as everyone's expecting with wing backs, I think they're going to be a good team, providing players stay fit.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's a thing that's I've been playing on my mind for the last 24 hours, seeing him wandering around, just thinking, why did you do that?
18-month contract, though. I think that says more about his plans. I reckon if he'd have waited another week, he could have got the Man United job.
Maybe.
True.
Then that would have been trouble, because that is a team full of magnificent players, where Spurs have got 2.5.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to do much there. Any manager will be in trouble if Harry doesn't play, doesn't want to defend, doesn't do his job. And so the first thing he needs to do is get Harry out of that club.
Definitely agree.
Anyway, that's it. I think we're all done.
We are indeed. It was a good talk. Yeah, it was a good talk. Chris, it was definitely lovely to pod with you again. And we must get you on again, because those other fuckers in the group don't want to do it.
I see they're all apologising now. They're all at work. Chris was
I saw that as well. Can we sub
Karl.
this Chris for the other Chris? Definitely.
Have you got a terrible fashion sense?
He's a good friend. No, not as terrible as his. Not as terrible as his.
Everybody said. I said to Mike, "What was the first thing you noticed when you saw Chris?" He went, "The awful way he dresses."
Definitely the trousers or jeans. Yeah, definitely.
He never gets a fair shout, does he? Our poor old pirate.
He's a lovely man.
He is.
He is. I actually do love Chris. Like, don't like Ellis though. Fuck Ellis, but we love Chris.
Get on with
Chris,
it.
Thank you for coming on, Chris. Like, much appreciated.
Thank you for having me. Been lovely. It's been really good chatting with you, gents. Always good to talk the Arsenal.
Thanks.
No worries. Danny, you have to be here, so I'm not thanking you.
And I'm not thanking you because you have to be here. I'll thank your plant behind you.
Leave my. That needs to go outside. I just haven't had the chance to put it in the bin yet because it's gone. I tried to get it back to life. It's not happening. So
You don't bin
it's
plants, silly.
what do you do?
Murderer.
What do you do with them if they're dead? Then
You be nice to it. You feed it stuff. You rub it. Take it to bed. Take it in the shower with you.
Sing to it, whisper to
Yeah,
it.
I talk to
Sweet
my
nothing.
plants.
Danny, you talk to people that are not there as well.
I do.
On that note, dear listener, thank you for listening. This has been a Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. We will be back next week to talk about the amazing win over Watford and hopefully the capitulation of Spurs and Man United. Thank you, and good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you're listening to this. Danny, press that button.
Well, indeed.